Welcome to my English classroom. I'm your English teacher Sheikh Rafi. Today in this video, I'm going to start Unit 3 from your English textbook. So let us first see the theme sheet of this unit. I want all of you to open page number 79 of your textbook. The theme of this unit is human relations. And in this unit, there are 3 readings given. A reading, The Journey. B reading, which is a poem, Once Upon a Time. And C reading, What is My Name? Let us first understand the meaning of the theme of this unit. It is human relations. Children, we know that man is a social animal. We cannot live alone. We have to live as a part of society. When we live in this society, we maintain a lot of relations. Some relations are blood relations that we get because of our birth, and there are many more relations which we form in due course of time. As a human being, we should know how to maintain these relations. The basic relations that start at your family, that is your father, mother, brother, sisters, etc. Then you have your friends, neighbors, etc. When you go to school, you have your teachers. When you are out in the society, you may have your colleagues, etc. So many people are there in this world who are part of your world, and you should learn how to maintain good relations with these people. So this unit altogether speaks about human relations. Let us see the face sheet of this unit. On page number 80, look at the picture and read the following excerpt from the diary of a 70-year-old man. Answer the questions that follow. So you can look at the picture. In the picture you can see there is a house in front of which an old man is sitting. Some kids are playing there in front of the house, and 2 hawkers are going on the road, and some women are fetching water at the bore well, and even some more men are there who are sitting under a tree. Now let us see what is given there. As I sit here alone and waiting, I gaze at people passing me by. The old man says, as I sit here alone and waiting, I gaze at people. Gaze means staring, looking continuously at people. I gaze at people passing me by. I try to smile and reach out to them, but no one notices, no one waits. They look at me like I am nothing. Are they afraid to be seen saying hi to an old man like me? So we can understand that this excerpt is nothing but feelings of the old man. So he is feeling all alone, nobody pays attention to him, and that is what he has mentioned in this paragraph. So the first question they have given is, what is the excerpt about? Excerpt means extract. So this extract is all about the feelings of the old man, how he feels in the society, as if he has been neglected, as if no one pays attention to him. The second question is, how do people respond to the old man's smile? Now when you look at the excerpt, you can understand that when he smiles, no one notices and no one waits. And they look at him like he is nothing. They look him at like he is nothing, and the old man feels as if they are afraid of saying hi to me. So that is the feeling of the old man. Now third question is a general question. How should old people be treated so that they do not feel neglected? Now that's a basic question. How should old people be treated? We all know old people should be given due respect in the family. They are the senior most members of the family. When they were young, they worked hard. They spent their entire life bringing up their children. Now they have become old. Now they may not participate in all the activities with energy. and hence it is the responsibility of younger generation to take care of the old people. Old people should be taken care with love and affection. We should make them get involved in all the family activities. We should not neglect them. We should not keep them away. Even we can take their advices in our day-to-day life. Those people are very experienced. We can use their experience to improve our own life. So in this way, by giving them love and affection, by showing our respect to them, by making them involved in our day-to-day activities, we can show our love and care for them. Let us see the lesson. Before starting the lesson, let us first see about the author. I want all of you to open page number 84 of your textbook. About the author. The name of the author is Yeshi Dorji Tongchi. Now you may find, sir, the name is bit unconventional. It's a different name. It's a name of people, generally people in northeastern states, they have such name. Let us see first about the author. Yeshi Dorji Tongchi, born in May 1952, is a prominent name in Assamese literature. So he writes in Assamese. Assamese is the language of Assam. It's a northeastern state. Though he grew up in a poverty, he studied well and earned and entered Arunachal Pradesh civil services and was later elevated to the Indian administrative services. Okay, now here what we have to understand is that author is very well educated and he is at a very high position in the society. He is an IAS officer. He is a civil servant. He writes fiction, drama and essays in Assamese and English. He has received a national recognition for his novel Mauna Aunta Mukhara Hridaya, which won the Sahitya Academy Award in 2005. So he is reputed and he has received Sahitya Academy Award also. Many of Tongchi's novels, including Sonam, deal with the cultural life of the Monpa and the Sherdukpen tribes of Arunachal Pradesh. So most of the stories that this author has written is about the tribal people of northeastern states, particularly Arunachal Pradesh. So let us start this lesson, page number 81, A reading, The Journey. The title of the lesson can be easily comprehended. The journey means travel of a person from one place to another place. Let us see the lesson. After spending a leisurely Sunday at home, the very thought of returning to work on Monday is tiring. Now this is a very common behavior of humans. When we spend our time on Sundays at home, the next day we don't want to go either to school or to office. He further says, lethargy creeps in if the holidays continues over an extended period. Now lethargy refers to laziness or unenthusiasm. We are not interested to go to our place of work or to school when the holidays are extended. For example, in summer, when you get a holidays for around 30 to 40 days, after the holidays are over, we find it very difficult to go to school. We don't like it. We lose all our enthusiasm. We don't show any interest. Such condition is called lethargy. So lethargy creeps in our body and we don't want to go to school or office. Why? Because we have been at home for a long time. So the author says, that is how I felt when I was preparing to return to my place of work after spending 6 months at home. The author had also the same feeling. Lethargy had crept into his body. Why? Because he had spent around 6 months at home. And see another fact, he says, the fact that I was to leave behind my newly wed wife and to go to a far off place did not help either. Now, that is another reason. The author says he didn't want to go to his office. Why? Because number one, lethargy had crept in him, because he was at home for more than 6 months. The second reason why he didn't want to go was he was recently married. He didn't want to leave his newly wed wife and go to a far off place. He says, obviously, I did not want to go. So it was very natural. Obviously means naturally he didn't want to go to his place of work. See the next para. He says, however, I finally decided to go. The last line of the first paragraph says, I did not want to go. But the very first line in the next paragraph, he says, however, I finally decided to go. Now, both these statements are contradictory, opposite to each other. Let us see why he changed his decision. He says, I did not have much to carry by way of luggage, just a trunk. Author had nothing to carry by way of luggage. He had only a trunk. Trunk is an iron box. Ours is a hilly terrain without any motorable roads, and there is no certainty that we are ever going to have any roads. The author says the place where he lives is a hilly terrain, is a mountainous region, and there are no motorable roads. We don't find roads there. So that is why people don't carry much luggage when they are coming to their home or whether they are going to their workplace. He says, in any case, while coming home, we do not carry bedding. We do not carry bedding. We don't carry our beds. Why should we carry unnecessary luggage with us? Because their house is in a hilly region and even there are no roads to go there. So if you carry heavy luggage, you have to carry it on your own up to the village, which will be very difficult. Besides, see what the author says. Besides, I had come home this time round for a special purpose. So this time the author had come to home for a special purpose. What is that? To get married. To get married. My parents had arranged my marriage according to the customs of our tribal society. Time flew, and 5 months into my marriage, I realized it. Author came to his village to get married. His parents had arranged the marriage according to the customs of their tribe, and the time flew very fast. It was almost 5 months over, and he realized. Initially, I thought of extending my leave, even taking unpaid leave. So, though he was at home for 5 months, the author wanted to extend his leave. He was ready to take unpaid leave also. Generally, in offices or the place where we work, we get leaves. For example, Sunday is a leave every week. Now Sunday is a paid leave. Even if you take leave on Sunday, you will be paid for that. So it is a paid leave. But if you take any leave other than Sunday, then the company or the office, they will cut your salary for that day. That is called unpaid leave. So unpaid leave means the leave for which you are not paid. So the author says, I thought of extending my leave, even taking unpaid leave. But after some dilly-dallying, I finally decided against it because marriage had increased my responsibility and I had got into debt. Now, what is the meaning of dilly-dallying? Dilly-dallying means taking a long time to do something, to go somewhere or to make a decision. When you keep on postponing or when you are not able to decide quickly or when we take a long time to decide, it is called dilly-dallying. It is called dilly-dallying. So after some dilly-dallying, I finally decided against it. Against it. It refers to taking of unpaid leave. Actually, the author decided to take unpaid leave, but after a long process of decision, he decided not to take the leave because marriage had increased his responsibilities and he had got into debt. He had got into debt. Debt means taking loans. He had taken loans for getting married. You all know, when it is a marriage, there are a lot of expenditures. We spend a lot of money on buying clothes. We spend a lot of money on decoration. We spend a lot of money on buying jewelries, and even we have to arrange for a dinner. Even after the marriage is over, it almost take 1 to 2 weeks. We have different rituals to be completed. For doing all these things, we need lot of money. If you have saved money for getting married, that is well and good, or otherwise one has to take loans. So taking loans means getting into debt. So the marriage had increased author's responsibilities and he had got into debts. See the next paragraph. On my home from the bus stop, my trunk had been carried by a porter. When author was coming home, his trunk was carried by a porter. Porter means a person who carries your luggage for money. You would have seen in railway stations people wearing red color uniform. They are all porters. On my way home from the bus stop, my trunk had been carried by a porter. The problem now was we couldn't find anyone who could help me carry the trunk to the bus stop. Now here we understand that the author was facing one problem. What was the problem? He wanted to find someone who can carry his trunk up to the bus stop, but he couldn't find anyone. At another time of the year, we would have easily found someone to help me, but now most of the villagers were busy in the fields. Had it been any other season, I could have easily found people to carry my trunk to the bus stop. Where is the bus stop? Down the hill. Author says, but in this season, all the villagers were busy in the fields. So he couldn't find anyone. Nobody had time to spare for me. Now why he needed a person? He needed a person to carry his trunk. See what he says. In fact, carrying the trunk should not have been such a worry for me, except that my education had made me shun physical labor. Oh my God. I want all of you to underline that statement. It's a very important statement. Author admits, he says that carrying a trunk, it wasn't a big problem for a young man like me. But only thing was, his education had made him shun physical labor. Shun means avoid. His education had made him avoid doing physical labor. Now children, here you have to understand this one very, very big issue or a problem that we find in the society. Most of the educated people find that they should not do physical work. They should not do physical work. They think that they are educated and they should do only a white collar job, an official job, that's all. A job which you have to do on sitting on a table and a desk. Now that is what the author says. Now you know who is an author. The author is highly educated man and he is a government officer. He is an IAS officer. So he feels shame in carrying his trunk. And why that shame is there in him? It is only and only because of his education. He says, my education had made me shun physical labor. My education had made me avoid physical labor. Otherwise, carrying a trunk was not a big issue. He could have easily carried. The author did not wanted to carry the trunk because he feels he is highly educated. He feels he is a government officer. Now let us see why this thing happens and what are the things. After all, the author says, after all, I was a government officer and the idea of people seeing me carry my own luggage was not at all amusing. The author admits, he says, I'm a government officer, I'm highly educated. If I carry my own luggage, what others will think? What others will think? And he find he found that this idea was not at all amusing. Otherwise, for a young man like me, it should not have been an issue to carry a 20 kilo chest on my back. 20 kilo chest. Chest means box. So the author admits, he says, carrying a box was not at all a problem for a young man like me. I could have easily carried it, but I was a government officer. I'm a government officer, and above all, I'm highly educated. If others see me carrying my own luggage, what the others will think? That was the thought that was going on in author's mind. Finally, my father came up with a solution. Don't worry, I myself will see you off at Dirang. Oh, father got the solution for his son's problem. What is son's problem? He was not finding any person to carry his trunk to the bus stand, which is down the hill. The name of the place is Dirang. So he wasn't getting any person to carry his trunk up to Dirang. Father came with a solution. And what is the solution found by the father? He said, I myself will see you off at Dirang. See off means I will myself come to bid you farewell. It means father decided that he will carry the trunk himself. Oh, now it is a complicated situation we are getting. Now it is a complicated situation. What is the complication here? Father is ready to carry the trunk. Is it admissible? Can we admit son walking with pride and father carrying son's luggage? We cannot accept this. We cannot accept this. So see what happens there. Father says, finally my father came up with a solution. Don't worry, I myself will see you off at Dirang. I protested. I here refers to the author. The author directly rejected the offer. He did not want his father to carry the luggage. So I protested. How could I allow my old father to carry my trunk? Now that is the convention of the society. So author says, how could I allow my old father to carry my trunk? What would people think? What would people think? What would they say? But I failed to dissuade him. I failed to dissuade him. Dissuade is opposite of persuade. Persuade means making somebody to follow you. Dissuade means making somebody not to follow you. So he failed in dissuading his father. He asked his father not to carry the luggage, but his father didn't listen to him. His father didn't listen to him. So he failed to dissuade his father. It was decided that father would carry the chest. Father would carry the chest, the box, the trunk. Now that is the situation here. See what happens. A large crowd gathered at our place the day I was to leave. People had come to wish me luck. It was 10:20 when I left for Dirang. So this is the day when actually the author was leaving the village and going to his place of work. So all the villagers had come to his house to wish him good luck. So by 10:20 the author started moving from his house. My father had already left. So his father has already left in the morning, whereas the author started at 10:20. As I had to do a bit of catching up, I walked fast. The author walked fast. Why? Because he had to catch up with his father. Father had already started early, and he started around 10:20. So he had to do a little bit of catching up. So he walked fast. 3 kilometers down the road, I caught up with my father. So almost 3 kilometers down the road, he caught up his father. Father said, "You are late. You are late. Would you like to rest for some time? Would you like to rest for some time?" Why father is asking this question? Because he had seen his son walking fast, and just by looking at his face, father understood that he was tired. Having walked fast, I was tired. So author admits that. Author admits that. He says, having walked fast, I was tired. Moreover, I had to cross 2 hills on the way up to the spot. I quickly sat down on a rock. My father laughed at my plight. My father laughed at my plight. Plight means bad situation, poor situation. Father looked at his son's situation. Father looked that his son was really tired, and the moment he sat there, father looked at him and he laughed. So father says, so this little distance has tired you. So this little distance has tired you. Rest for a while. But we have to be in time for the bus. We have to be in time for the bus. Otherwise, bus will go. Since it was a village, the frequency of buses was very less. So they have to hurry. Father was quiet for some time. You can see the picture they have given there. Both father and son, they are sitting there under a tree, right? Because they had a long journey to be completed. So I hope you can understand how the lesson, the journey is related to the lesson here now. So father was quiet for some time. He thoughtfully looked at the sun for a moment. It was very bright. It was very hot. So the father looked at the sun for a while. He thoughtfully looked at the sun for a moment, and then his eyes fell on the can of homemade wine that I was carrying. Son was carrying a can of homemade wine. See, children, you have to understand here. The author walked down the hill. The author was tired. Now the same is the situation with the father. Father is an old man. Besides that, he was carrying the trunk. Wouldn't he be tired? Wouldn't he be tired? Definitely, he would have also been very tired. So see what happens. Father was looking at the sun for a moment. It was very hot. Then he looked, then his eyes, father's eyes fell on the can of homemade wine that author was carrying, wetting his lips. Wetting his lips with his tongue, he said in a matter of fact, I am thirsty. I am thirsty. Now here you should catch one more thing, right? When father looked at the plight of the son, father very easily understood that his son was tired. But the son failed to understand that his father would also have been tired, that his father was thirsty. So father had to open his mouth and had to ask him that he was thirsty. So what did the author do? I gave him the can of wine. He poured himself a mug and handed me the can. So father took one mug of the wine, he drank, and he gave the rest to the author. He drank all of it in one go. He drank all of it in one go. So that shows that father was really thirsty. So he drank all of it in one go. He then arranged the belt that was attached to the trunk carefully on his forehead. So he lifted the trunk and he kept the belt of the trunk on the forehead. You would have seen in village how people carry. They put the belt of the trunk on their forehead and the trunk will be hanging on their back. So he started carrying the trunk. So this was the picture. This was the picture. This was the scene. What is it? My father carrying my luggage on his back and me following him with a tiny bag in my hand. So can you believe this situation? Right? Author's father was carrying his luggage and he was simply carrying a small bag with him. So it looks as if he is really an officer and his father is his servant. So that gives a very wrong picture. So he says, so this was the picture. My father carrying my luggage on his back and me following him with a tiny bag in my hand. We were walking up a narrow hilly road and neither of us uttered a word, as if we were strangers who spoke different languages. All while walking, they didn't talk to each other. Son was going silently, father was also going silently. Now, see what happens. I did not know what was going on in his mind. Author says, I did not know what was going in father's mind. What was father thinking about this situation? I don't know, author says. From time to time, it crossed my mind that it was improper for me to let father carry the luggage. Oh, now see, this is the conscience of the author. The conscience of the author, the conscious mind of the author, and the mind is telling the author it is improper to let your father carry your luggage. So there was a feeling in his mind. I wanted to tell him that I would like to carry the trunk myself, but my guilt and shame did not allow me to do so. Oh God. The author says, my conscious mind was telling me that it was improper, that it was wrong to ask the father carrying his luggage. He wanted to tell his father, give the luggage to me, I will carry myself. But somebody stopped him. What was that? He says, my guilt and my shame. My guilt and my shame. He felt shame. He felt shame to carry his own luggage. There was a thought of guilt in his mind. He felt that I should not carry my own luggage. I am an educated person. I am a government officer. So that guilt was there in his mind. That shame was there in his mind. So these things stopped him from asking his father to give the luggage to him. This self-consciousness had probably to do with my education. The author admits. The author is accepting. He says, why this guilt was there in his mind? Why this shame was there in his mind? It was all because of his education and the white collar job that I had. The white collar job that I had. Now, what do you mean by white collar job? We have two types of jobs, white collar job and blue collar job. Blue collar job refers to those jobs in which you have to do physical work. Whereas white collar jobs are the jobs of officers, right, who mostly do intellectual works. They don't do physical work. So he says the two reasons why he couldn't ask his father to give the trunk to him. He says it was because of his education and because of his white collar job. Now these two things had corrupted his mind. He felt guilt and shame in carrying his own luggage. See what he says? Or quite simply, my pride. My pride. He felt proud that he is educated, that he is a government officer. Then why should he carry the luggage? He shouldn't carry. What will the others think? See what he says. I had the feeling that if I carried the luggage, my father and my people, in the fact the whole world would laugh at me and I would be belittled. Now see the reason why he says if I carry the luggage, my father and my people, in fact the whole world would laugh at him. Now children, here you have to understand. Does it really happens? If you do your own work, will others laugh at you? Right? So what we can say is the doubt which the author had in his mind, was it a real or was it imaginary? Yes, it was absolutely imaginary doubt the author had. The author thought that the whole world would laugh at him and he would be belittled. His image will decrease. His reputation will decrease. His stature will decrease in front of others. Do we get belittled just because of doing our own work? No, it is not like that. When you do your own work, you are generally praised by others. You are known for your moderate behavior. Now that is the thing that happens. But here, the author's mind was absolutely corrupted because of his education, because of his job, or because of his false pride. He didn't wanted to carry the luggage because he was very clear that what will people think of me? People, the whole world would laugh at me if they see me carrying the luggage. We know that this is a false pride, but that was what was going in author's mind. See the next para. Father had provided for my education and I had been able to realize his dreams. It's the duty of all parents to get their children educated. So father had provided. Provided here means father had borne all the cost of his education. Father had provided for my education and I had been able to realize his dreams. What could have been the dreams of father? Every father wants that his child should be well educated and he should settle in some good job. So both these things the author was able to realize. The author got well educated and he became an IAS officer. So both the things he realized. So he says, Father had provided for my education and I had been able to realize his dreams. My parents were truly proud of me. They were truly proud of me. It was through me that they had earned a greater degree of admiration and respect from the villagers. Now here we can see the subtle pride in the mind of the behavior. The author feels that his father, his parents had got good name, had got reputation in the village because of him. Because he was highly educated and he was a government officer. My father would not like to see me carrying a trunk on my back and would be very hurt if I do so. So what is the author doing here? The author is trying to conclude himself. The author is trying to justify the wrong that he had done. What is the wrong he had done? He had allowed his father to carry the trunk. Now he is justifying it. How he is justifying? He says, I realized my father's dream. It was because of me that my father got good name in the village. I have fulfilled their dreams. And if I carry the trunk, my father will not like it. My father will not like it. So what he says, I concluded that it would be better to let him carry it. Oh God. The author decided, let father carry the trunk. Let father carry the trunk. Father was used to carrying luggage anyway. Oh, father was a villager. In villages, most of the time, father used to do the same work. He used to carry the loads and luggages on his body. So he says, father was habitual of doing such work. He was stronger and more skilled than I in these matters. These matters refers to in matters of carrying weight or load. Father was more experienced because he had always been doing these things. So far, the son says, let him carry the luggage. He says, let him carry the luggage. I had never got used to physical labor, having stayed in hostels right from my childhood. The author again tells us a new fact. Since author studied in a hostel, he never had to carry luggage or loads on his back. Father was habitual. Son had never carried loads or luggage. So he says, so in spite of my youth and strength, I was physically useless. The author himself accepts, I was absolutely useless. Father was better person to carry the luggage because he was much stronger and he was habitual of carrying the luggage. Whereas in case of the author, since he studied in hostel, he never had to carry any luggage, etc. So though he was young, though he was stronger than his father, yet his youth was absolutely waste. I was physically useless. I continued walking silently with father. So I hope by this time all of you would have realized that there is something wrong in both these fathers and sons human relations. This is not the way we should treat the elderly people in the home, right? All the work, all the physical work generally should be carried over by the younger generation. We should never allow older people to do work for us. We should never take their favors. We can take their advice, but we should never take their favors. But here it was absolutely reverse that was going on, and the author even justifies the wrong. He justifies the wrong. See what happens? I continued walking silently with Father. We rested at two places on the way and had our tiffin, but we hardly talked. We hardly talked. They continued their journey. They are walking down the hill. The bus stop is far away from there. They have to walk they have to reach up to Dirang. See what he says? Finally, we reached Dirang. The bus from Tawang had not yet reached Dirang, so we had some time in hand. So they reached the bus stop in time. There was some more time. The bus hadn't reached Dirang. We entered a tea shop and sat facing each other. That's what people do. When we have time, we generally go to a tea shop and have a cup of tea. Father appeared tired. Now again the author notices on the face of Father that Father was tired. He is an old man, and all the while he carried the trunk, he carried the luggage on his back right from the home till the bus stop. So he says, Father appeared tired. I felt sorry for him. Now see the author's mind. I felt sorry for him. Even he was not very much happy about that. I felt sorry for him, but couldn't bring myself to say anything. Now that is another problem with the younger generation children. Whatever we feel, we always fail to express. We are not good at expressing our feelings. If you feel happy, we don't show our happiness. If you feel angry, we don't show our angriness. If you want to show your love and affection, we generally don't show love and affection. So that is what is happening here. He felt sorry for his father, but he couldn't say a word to him. I asked the waiter to get 2 cups of tea. So they were sitting in a tea stall. They wanted to have a cup of tea. He ordered 2 cups of tea. Just as I was going to take my first sip, I heard Father's voice. When the moment when the author was going to take a sip of tea, he heard his father's voice. What did Father say? He said, do you have a pair of old shoes? Father asked for a pair of old shoes. Now son didn't understand. He says, why? I asked. Why? I asked, why do you need old shoes? See the answer. Father says, the road is uneven and full of pebbles. It hurts while walking. Oh God. Oh God. Now, can you understand? This was all the pain the father had borne while coming from their home till the bus stop. While coming home, while coming to the bus stop, all through the way. How is the road? The road is uneven. The road is uneven. It is not flat like motorable roads. When you walk on a flat road, you don't feel hurt. But when we walk on an uneven road, it is very difficult. It is very uncomfortable. It is very painful. So Father says the road is uneven and full of pebbles. Pebbles means small stones. So if you keep your feet on the pebble, it pricks in your body, which is very painful. It hurts while walking. Now we immediately have a doubt. Why the father only was hurt? Why not the son? Why not the son? Just turn the page, you will understand. I looked at my father's bare feet. So immediately the author looked at father's feet. Never having worn shoes, his feet had developed cracks and somehow resembled those of an elephant. If you look the elephant's feet, there are a lot of cracks on elephant's feet. Similar types of cracks were visible on father's feet. The author saw this. He also felt very bad because he had never observed that thing. I noticed this for the first time. The author says, I noticed this for the first time. I hadn't noticed that the road was uneven. The author failed to notice that the road was uneven. Why? Because I didn't have to, since I was wearing a pair of hunting boots. Oh, you can see there in the picture what are hunting boots. The long leather shoes, they are actually called hunting boots. The author was wearing hunting boots. So for him, it was absolutely comfortable. He was not hurt on the road by the pebbles or because of the uneven road. But father came bare feet all the way. So he says, I was wearing a pair of hunting boots. I checked my wallet and saw I still had around rupees 40 with me. Why he is checking his wallet? Because father asked for old pair of shoes. So immediately son checked for his wallet. There were around 40 rupees. A pair of canvas shoes would cost around 12. Pair of shoes for 12 rupees. So this is a very old story, right? Long ago. Nowadays we know we don't get a pair of shoes even for 1200 rupees. So at that time it was only 12 rupees. So it's a very old story when the value of money was much more. So the author says, a pair of canvas shoes would cost around rupees 12 and the remaining amount would be enough for me to get to Bomdila. So Bomdila is the place where the place of work of the author is there. So he decided to buy a pair of old shoes to the father. See what happens there. My father protested. Father rejected. Do you remember? Previously the author protested. When father wanted to carry the trunk, the author protested. But the author failed to dissuade the father. Now see what happens here. The author is willing to buy shoes to his father, but his father protested. Give me an old pair. Father said, give me an old pair. You don't have to spend money on new shoes. Father said, don't spend money on new shoes. Just give me your old pair of shoes. Author says, I couldn't convince him to buy a new pair. I couldn't convince him. The author once again failed to dissuade his father. He once again failed to dissuade his father and he agreed to what his father said. Reluctantly, I gave him the hunting boots I was wearing. Reluctantly means unwillingly. Even author was not willing to give his used or his own old pair of shoes to his father. He wanted to buy new pair of shoes for father. But father, he didn't wanted his son to waste his money. He didn't wanted his son to spend his money for him. So that is why he said to give him old pair of shoes. So unwillingly the author gave his hunting boots to the father. So you can see there in the image, father is wearing the hunting shoes, right? I then took out my pair of leather shoes from the trunk and noticed my father's face lighting up with contentment. Now that's a beautiful statement. When the author took out his shoes from the trunk, he looked at father's face. Father's face was lightened up with contentment. Contentment means satisfaction. Father was very happy. He was highly satisfied. Why? Because his son gave him his shoes. See there, you can understand how our parents are there. If you do even little bit for your parents, they get very happy. They get very happy. You need not spend thousands of rupees to buy happiness for your parents. Just to do small favors to your parents and they will be really happy. Children, this is what you have to learn from this chapter. This is what you have to gain. This is what you have to understand. How to maintain relations. How to keep our parents happy. We need not do many great things for them. Just express your love and affection towards them. Just to show them that you care for them. That's all. That will be the greatest joy or happiness that you will be giving to your parents. That's all. So author noticed that his father's face had lightened up with contentment. Contentment means satisfaction. Suddenly he looked at me and said, "Take care, write to us." Take care, write to us. It means the bus had just arrived. The bus had just arrived. So father said, "Take care and keep on writing to us." So that's an old story. At that time, people used to write letters. Now the generation has changed. No? We don't wait for letters. As soon as we reach, we take out our cell phones and we make a call to our parents. So this is a old story. So father says, "Take care and write to us." Father wanted to say something, but the bus started moving. The bus started moving. I saw my father gradually receding into distance. Gradually receding. Receding means decreasing. Generally, when you move away from one person to a long distance, the other thing, it starts decreasing in size because of the distance, which is called receding. The author says, I saw my father gradually receding into distance. I saw that the road we had come by looked like a giant motionless rope. You can see there in the picture the road on which they had come. It was looking like a giant rope, a big rope. Father would use the same road to go back home. Now, that's a tough thing, no? While coming itself, father was very tired, right? Downhill is generally an easy journey, right? Well, when you get down off a hill, it is easy because you are going in the direction of gravitation. You get down easily. But now father had to climb the mountain all the while. So it was really a tough journey. The return journey for the father is going to be really tough, but father is happy. Father is happy. So the author says, father would use the same road to go back home. Simultaneously, our journeys started in two opposite directions. The son's journey started in the bus in one direction, and the father's journey started on foot in the other direction. Their directions were opposite. Now children, here this statement is very, very critical statement. The direct meaning of this sentence is they were both traveling in opposite direction. But there is one more meaning that we can understand is their journeys were totally opposite in its own way. The journey of the son was a comfortable journey. He was sitting in a luxurious bus. He was going to his place of work. All the while he will be sitting comfortable and he will reach his destiny. But how is the journey of the father? The father has to again climb the mountain. So father's journey was a tough journey, whereas son's journey was a luxurious journey. So in this way, their journeys were opposite. So journeys were opposite in two ways. It was opposite in direction and it was opposite in the way of the journey. Father's journey was a tough journey, was a tiring journey, whereas son's journey was a luxurious journey. It was a comfortable journey. So author says, simultaneously our journeys started in two opposite direction, with me seated in a luxurious seat of a bus and father walking back with weary legs on the pebble-strewn road. So my journey would be a comfortable journey, a luxurious journey, but father's journey is going to be a tough journey. He has to walk back again the uneven road strewn with pebbles. Strewn with pebbles means full of pebbles. So that was the beautiful lesson that expresses the relation between a father and son. Children, what I told you is the fact that you have to learn is how to express your love and affection towards your parents. Never let your education or your fake or false pride come between you and your parents. Help them, respect them, love them, and show your love, affection, and care towards them. That's all. They don't need much more than that. So that was all about the journey. We understood the two directions, the opposite directions in which the journey of both the father and the son started. Children, I hope all of you enjoyed this lesson. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much.